In these exclusive documents I have right here are bank records, company profiles, and lots more that link members of this secret cartel. Also, I was able to lay hands on an exclusive audio recording of the owner of this vessel. The documents linking him with the company that has been using this boat to steal crude oil from Nigeria for over a decade now. The question we are trying to answer here is,
what is the name of the person who owns the company?
When oil prices started dropping during President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, the Nigerian government thought they could weather the storm that lay ahead. However, a few months in, and the government immediately started to feel the effect of oil theft. The topic was on the lips of everyone as Buhari went in search of a fall guy. President Muhammadu Buhari, who was under immense pressure to find a solution for the country's economic woes, turned to borrowing to solve Nigeria's immediate problems. He also rolled out a couple of policies like placing a ban on importation of certain goods, closing the borders, and making the cost of living practically unbearable for the living. This was when a little bird whispered onto him and said, "Hey Baba, maybe we should try our oil." Buhari then decided to declare war on corruption within the oil sector in the hopes of increasing the country's output. His efforts in trying to fish out the facilitators of oil theft were commendable, but concentrating that effort on this particular region of the country immediately led to increased violence in the area. It all started when this man was declared wanted. This is Government Owezide Ekpemopolo, a man popularly known as Tompolo. He is a former Nigerian militant commander of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta and the chief priest of the Egbesu deity, which is the Niger Delta god of war. But he wasn't always this influential. You see, this region of Nigeria, known as Niger Delta, is one of the most blessed regions in the country, as is evidenced by the amount of oil extracted from there daily. But the people here are highly marginalized, with sometimes little representation in the government, environmental pollution, and lack of development in the region. It seems the Nigerian government only uses this place as a cash cow and doesn't really care what becomes of its people. To put things in perspective, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, and Delta states are the predominant producers of oil and therefore the main contributors to Nigeria's GDP. This feeling of neglect was rampant among the people. Soon enough, people like Tompolo decided it was time to make their voices heard. In 1993, Tompolo dropped out of college to join a resistance group in the Niger Delta. This was the beginning of his activism, and by 1998, he had joined forces with more agitators to form a formidable force in the region. But what will give even more power to Tompolo was his coming together with this man right here, Dokubo Asare, leader of the Niger Delta People's Volunteer Force. This union that happened in 2005 fast-tracked the rise of Tompolo. With his fast-growing wealth, he was able to fund the rebels with large military-grade weapons and ammunition. Tompolo, at the height of his powers, controlled thousands of militants that carried out several successful operations in this region. His war was with the Nigerian government. To him, he was fighting the good fight, trying to give his people a chance to survive the continual exploitation and degradation of the Niger Delta. But then, in 2009, a new president came into power, one who was willing to handle things differently. Late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua wanted to listen to Tompolo and hear his demands. The government was willing to offer amnesty to Tompolo and his fighters if they decide to surrender their weapons. So the dialogue began. At the end of the talks, Tompolo was granted full amnesty under President Yar'Adua on June 27, 2009. Shortly after, when Goodluck Jonathan became president after the unfortunate death of President Yar'Adua, Tompolo was reportedly given a contract to protect Nigeria's oil facilities in the region. This contract was reported to be in the region of $100 million. But controversies surrounded this move, as some believe that Tompolo and his men were still playing a role in over 400,000 barrels of oil theft that was happening daily and being reported in the news. So after President Muhammadu Buhari took office in 2015, he ordered for those payments to stop. This was when it was rumored that an arrest warrant for Tompolo had been issued. But the ex-militant never faced prosecution. He instead went into hiding, although not quietly. You see, the period that Tompolo went into hiding was the same time the Niger Delta Avengers began their onslaught against the Chevron oil installations within the Niger Delta region in 2016. Those attacks led to large oil spills in the region and also further reduced Nigeria's oil production. Years later, however, Tompolo now has a contract to protect these same oil infrastructures and prevent further oil theft in the country. His security company is called Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited. They made the arrest of this vessel, Empty Tura, delivering where the Navy failed. Now, Tompolo is saying that many of the security people are involved in this oil theft because, according to him, there is no way you can load a vessel without settling or bribing the security people in that region. A statement that was reiterated by Asari Dokubo. He also suggested that much of the oil was stolen from precisely those areas where there were army and navy checkpoints. Now, if these are mere accusations and no facts, where are the vessels seized in the past? Why is the military working with a private security firm owned by a guy that once accused them of aiding and abetting oil theft? It seems the guy knows what he's talking about, and they are either working with him to solve the problem that is fast becoming a criminal syndicate, or someone is fighting really hard to get away. But then that leaves me with one big question. If all this is true and not one big show, why was this oil vessel caught with stolen crude oil destroyed and not prosecuted? The NNPC said that details of this arrest and the outcomes of the investigations were sent to the appropriate government authorities, and they came to the conclusion that it was necessary to destroy the vessel to serve as a strong warning and deterrent to all those participating in such illegal activities to cease and desist. The official statement reads something like, "Destroying vessels involved in transporting stolen crude oil is of paramount importance as a strong deterrent. The illegal trade of stolen crude oil not only inflicts significant economic losses on Nigeria and legitimate stakeholders in the oil industry, but also perpetuates a cycle of corruption and environmental devastation and social instability." Wait, did he just say environmental devastation? So, why was the vessel and its content destroyed with fire? I found this troubling, even though it wasn't the first time the military and this private security firm have decided to destroy vessels caught with stolen crude oil. October 2022, a vessel named Empty Dama with 1,500 metric tons of stolen crude oil was arrested and set ablaze in the Warri Escravos River. According to Vanguard newspaper, this has been the way for these guys. The executive director, technical and operations, Tantita Security Services Limited, Captain Waredi Eniso, even said that the destruction would save the country the stress of litigation and stop the vessel from finding its way back to the waterways for similar crimes. While it is understandable that this vessel needs to be stopped from further oil theft in the future, I don't think causing environmental harm is the way to go about that. And how about the stolen crude? Reports claim that the Nigerian House of Assembly has resolved to probe the whereabouts of the $12 million worth of stolen crude oil. Hopefully that gets us closer to answering some unasked questions. There are so many unanswered questions about this vessel. Questions I'm not going to pretend that I have answers to. Especially the decision to destroy the vessel instead of using it as an evidence in a court trial. Some have raised concerns that this amounts to covering the tracks for the oil cabal, since the authorities decided to destroy the exhibits. And then there is the concern for the environment. Destroying a vessel with 150,000 metric tons of crude oil, that is if the crude oil was left in the vessel at the time of its destruction, should be alarming, especially if we are pretending to be concerned about the environment. And if this be the case and the crude was actually left in the vessel, isn't that unreasonable considering we are lamenting that oil production is down? Why are we setting $12 million ablaze just to caution the thieves? It's like saying an armed robber was caught after robbing a house, but instead of returning the stolen goods to the owner of the house, you decide to set the goods ablaze so that you caution other armed robbers from carrying out another robbery in the area. It's laughable at best. But this is just my opinion. I'm a novice, I don't know much about the oil industry. Going by this document that I've had to go through, I think this truly happened. But to what extent are we being told? Is there a part of this story we still don't know? That is the difficult question to answer, because Nigeria as it is lacks accountability from public office holders. I'd like to know your thoughts on this topic. What do you think of the NNPCL's effort to fight oil theft in Nigeria? Also, what do you think of Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited and their collaboration with the Nigerian Navy? Thanks for watching this video. Check out this one showing up on your screen right now, and I'll see you inside.